So on this question, we actually start with numbers in a sequence, and we're going to be writing a recursive definition and using it. So it says the value of a car in the years 2017 through to 2020, respectively, were reported as follows. So this is 2017. This last one will be 2020. And it says, write a recursive formula to model the cost of the car, round to the nearest thousandth. Now, because we're pretty far into the lesson, I'm going to let you know it's not arithmetic. If I subtracted down the row backwards, I would not get the same number. But if I divide, so if I take the second term and divide it by the first term, I get to the nearest thousandth 0.956, and that would actually continue. So just to show one more, if I took the third term and I divided by the second term, so 6.75 divided by 28,950, I get that same approximately same base. So writing a recursive definition, we are starting with 30,000. To get to the next term, I take the last term and I'm multiplying by 0.965. Now, typically, we don't use recursion as much as explicit formulas to find more numbers down a sequence, just because it's kind of like a repeated pattern. That takes longer. You have to find every term in the row to get there. But since this next question, it says if the pattern continues, use the recursive formula to find the value of the car in 2022. We're not going too much further down the line. This number here would be 2021, and this number here would be 2022. So as I'm counting, I have a sub 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm ultimately in my list trying to find a sub 6. I already know a sub 4, so I can start from there. So I'm going to use this value, which is a sub 4. And I have to find the next one. So to find a sub 5, if I put a 5 in here, n minus 1. If n is 5, n minus 1 is 4. And we're multiplying by 0.965. Now, if you get this, you probably can just do this. I'm just writing out the notation to make sure people understand what's going on. So I'm going to plug in a sub 4. A sub 4 is 26,958.96 and multiply it by 0.965, and that's going to give me a value of 26,015.40. Then to get the 2022 number, so a sub 6, which is what we're trying to find, we are going to take the term that came before it, a sub 5, which I just found, right? So I'm taking this number and I'm multiplying by 0.965 again. And that should give me, to the nearest dollar, $25,105 in 2022. The next question is a little more complex. It says, Simon lost his library card and has an overdue library book. When the book was 5 days late, he owed $225 to replace his library card and pay the fine for the overdue book. So if I'm going to write this, I'd probably start out this way. And since I look down the line and see I'm working with sequences, so on the fifth day, he owes $225. And then it says on the 21st day, he owes $625. And the book was 21 days late. He owed $625 to replace his library card and pay the fine for the overdue book. Suppose the total amount Simon owes when the book is n days late can be determined by an arithmetic sequence. So they are telling me it's an adding pattern, which makes sense for how library fines work. Determine a formula for a sub n, the nth term in the sequence. Use the formula to determine the amount of money in dollars Simon needs to pay when the book is 60 days late. Now, the issue is I don't have terms in a row here. So we're actually going to think about this like a slope formula, because over the 16 days that came between 5 and 21, so 16, it changed by $4. Now, I can kind of figure it out that way. If over 16 days it changed by $4, each day it changed by a quarter, right? Because 16 quarters would make the $4. But just to make it easier, if we think of this as points, y2 minus y1. So I'm going to subtract my results or outputs over x2, which is 21, minus x1 is 5. That's going to give me my d value, which I could think of as a slope, because we know d is just like really a different name for slope when we're working with sequences or different variables. So that's 0.25. So now the other thing I need to do to write an a sub n formula is I need to know my start value. So just to label this, this is d. Now, multiple ways to do this. I'm going to think about this number. And that's my a sub 5. And I didn't do great with spacing, but we're going to back up to a sub 1. Let me just get this a little better. So if I'm going 25 cents forward, if I moved forward, I would have 250, right? If I move backward, it's going to go down 25. So I have $2, and I have 175 and 150, and then 125. So this must work out that they charge more for like the first day it's late. Okay, and then less as the days go on. So this is a sub 1. Getting to my a sub n formula, I have d is 0.25 times n minus 1 plus a sub 1 is 125. So be careful, I have to write this as part of my answer because that's what the question asked for. Now it wants to know how much I will owe when it's 60 days late. So I'm going to plug in a 60 for the n, and that is going to give me $16. So hopefully they have a cap, like the Saugerties Library. I don't even know if they charge fines anymore at the Saugerties Library, but there used to be like a cap of $5.